a declaration of God's sovereignty. Psalm 93 begins with a bold and powerful proclamation, "The Lord reigns." This simple statement carries immense weight. It reminds us that God is not a passive observer of the world, but actively reigns over all creation with authority and majesty. In a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable, this truth offers deep comfort and stability. No matter what we face, we can trust that God is on his throne, ruling with wisdom, strength, and love. The imagery of God, being robed in majesty and girded with strength, paints a picture of his grandeur and power. He is not a distant or disinterested king, but one who is actively involved in his creation. His reign is not fragile or temporary, it is eternal, as verse 2 affirms, "Your throne is established from of old, you are from everlasting." This means that God's rule has no beginning or end. He was sovereign before time began, and he will continue to reign forever. God's reign in our lives. When we reflect on the fact that the Lord reigns, it's important to consider what this means for our daily lives. Often, we feel overwhelmed by circumstances beyond our control. Whether it's personal struggles, health issues, financial difficulties, or global crises. In these moments, it's easy to feel anxious or powerless. But Psalm 93 reminds us that while life may seem uncertain to us, nothing surprises God. He is in control, even when we cannot see the full picture. This truth invites us to release our fears and anxieties into God's hands. As Paul Tripp beautifully puts it, even though life may feel out of our control, it is never outside of God's control. We are called to trust in his eternal plan, knowing that he governs all things with perfect wisdom and love. The stability of God's creation. In verse 1, the psalmist declares that the world is established, it shall never be moved. This statement speaks to the unshakable nature of God's creation under his rule. Despite the turmoil we may witness in the world, natural disasters, wars, political unrest, God's creation remains firmly within his sovereign control. The earth itself stands as a testament to his power and order. This assurance extends beyond the physical world to our spiritual lives as well. Just as God has established the earth on a firm foundation, he also establishes our hearts when we place our trust in him. When we build our lives on the solid rock of God's sovereignty, we can stand firm even when storms come our way. A call to trust in God's eternal reign. Psalm 93 calls us to reflect on the eternal nature of God's reign. Your throne is established from of old, you are from everlasting. This verse reminds us that God's rule transcends time itself. He has always been king and will always be king. In a world where leaders rise and fall and kingdoms come and go, God's throne remains unshaken. This truth should fill us with hope and peace. No matter what changes around us, whether in our personal lives or in the world at large, we can rest assured that God's reign is eternal and unchanging. He sees the beginning from the end and holds all things together according to his perfect plan. Living under God's reign. How do we respond to this majestic vision of God's sovereignty? First, we are invited to worship him for who he is, the King of Kings, who rules with both majesty and strength. As we meditate on his greatness, our hearts should overflow with praise and gratitude for his faithfulness throughout history and in our own lives. Second, we are called to live with confidence under God's rule. Knowing that he reigns should give us courage to face whatever challenges come our way. We are not alone in navigating life's difficulties. We serve a mighty King who goes before us and strengthens us for every battle. Finally, this psalm encourages us to surrender control of our lives to God. Too often, we try to carry burdens that were never meant for us, worrying about things beyond our control or striving to make everything work out according to our plans. But Psalm 93 reminds us that it is God who reigns, not us, and that his plans are far better than anything we could imagine. Conclusion: resting in God's sovereignty. As you go about your day today, take time to reflect on the truth proclaimed in Psalm 93. The Lord reigns. Let this reminder bring peace to your heart amidst any uncertainties you may be facing. Trust that God is on his throne, robed in majesty and girded with strength, and that He holds your life securely in His hands. May this knowledge lead you into deeper worship and greater trust as you walk through life under the reign of your eternal King.